Contra. Contra is pretty good. The new Contra, I think it is a new remake. It's very up close to the original one, and they kind of followed and then improved upon the world again, which is quite interesting to see. It's a good remake. I think if you are a Contra fan, definitely try this game. You know, Operation Kaluga. Kaluga is good. Good, good. So for now, I like to see about a video about MMORPG that's been really, to be honest, hyped up to oblivion at this rate. It's as hyped as a Cyberpunk, but we know how Cyberpunk turned out, right? So I'm gonna see and then how the alpha test is going. But my concern about this MMO, like, it's not just concern. I just know, like this MMO when it's gonna come out, like when it's come out in a playable state, it's gonna look so outdated, and then it's gonna be so what do you got it niche. It's not gonna pop off like the other MMOs, you know. It's gonna die like New World, worst case scenario, but it will be mid like people still play Arcane. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I think. When I saw the gameplay, it looks super outdated and meh. And it kind of, to be honest, looks mid. But let's see what they improved. We got a bunch of stuff we can watch, and X. Then play Gamo. Rezipian is a good YouTuber. Definitely check his channel out if you want to see about the. I think he covers mostly about Eastern MMOs, but he does covers now variety of games because let's be real, MMO as a genre kind of died. So be sure to check his channel. I will link the video after I watched it, and then we can. You guys can check them out and then give them a sub if you like their content. All right. Give me a second. I gotta set up and then we can. I don't know. Yo, good day, good day. Hello, hello. How you doing? Welcome to stream. Hope you're doing good. Yo, thank you for the follow. How did you find me? Is it from YouTube? It'd be cool if it's from YouTube.
The time's almost.
All right. Really appreciate it. Appreciate the follow. I was just scrolling. Oh, cool, cool.
Finally upon us. After 3 years since the Ashes of Creation Alpha 1, the game's finally going
Wait, that's 3 years ago? That kind
upon
of
us.
looks nice.
After 3 years since the Ashes of Creation Alpha 1,
Nice,
the game's
nice.
finally going into its Alpha 2 Phase 1, and will once again be entering the world of Vera. Those of us desperate enough to spend a couple $100 for access, that is. This video will be the quarterly Ashes of Creation recap that I usually do for the casual followers of this MMO.
Oh yeah, just to play this alpha version, you gotta play like $100 or something, you know?
And hopefully the last one for quite some time, as once Alpha 2's here, I'll be able to show off the new updates to the game firsthand, rather than having to sift through hours of live streams to break it all down.
Yeah, look at this. It looks like a scuffed Unreal Engine demo piece.
Firsthand, rather than having to sift through hours.
Like this NPC looks like he's just an asset that just brought down from Unreal Engine Asset Store. He doesn't even look that good at all. It looks
live
cheap.
Streams to break it all down. Just to set some expectations though, I actually reckon Alpha 2 Phase 1 for this game will likely be met with disappointment, as according to Steven, it's going to be a true alpha with lots of bugs. It's not going to be until Alpha 2 Phase 3 in May 2025 that the game will have a decent amount of content.
This game, there are 2 things you can do to save this game. I'm going to tell you right now. One of them is the story. If the story is solid, this game has a chance. Or it has mini combat and then many raid bosses and stuff like that with the co-op feature of the MMO. People play MMOs for these two things as well. And then maybe the costumes, not from the cash shop. Don't be fucking be a greedy fuck and then put the every good costumes on the cash shop. When you kill a raid boss, you will get that gear from the raid boss, you know? That would be more cool. So basically, there are the three things you can do to save this game. Otherwise, it's gonna crash and burn.
Content and
Pretty
feel
much.
more like a persistent early access
You run like a donkey. They should change this.
experience that people are more used to. So don't be too hyped for the tests later this month. I know it's not what you want to hear, but that's the reality. But before we get into the quarterly recap, support the content by listening to today's sponsor, Metaphor ReFantazio, a stunning fantasy RPG from the brilliant minds behind Persona 3, 4 and 5. This game is available to play right now and also has a free demo that you can try out. In
That's
Metaphor
what I thought. It looks like
ReFantazio,
it's
you
come to
embark on an
Persona.
incredible journey alongside your fairy companion,
I might play
Gallica.
this.
Enter the royal tournament,
Maybe.
lift a curse from the lost prince, and uncover the secrets of a captivating kingdom. This game is brimming with innovative features, awaken your archetype and unleash powerful abilities whilst mastering your unique job classes. Experience thrilling combat that blends turn-based strategy and real-time
Yeah,
action.
turn-based combat.
Navigate your way through a vast
How can you say that in a single sentence? Thrilling combat. Listen to this. Thrilling combat, and then it's just turn-based combat. Like how? How a turn-based combat is going to be
thrilling
thrilling?
combat that powerful abilities whilst mastering your unique job
Look at
classes. Experience thrilling combat that blends turn-based strategy and real-time action.
You
Navigate
know, look at that. Thrilling combat and then turn-based strategy. How it's going to be thrilling? Do you know what thrilling is? Fucking finding Radon.
your way through a vast
You go into the fog wall, and then as soon as you enter the fog wall, dude just jumps on top of you.
and beautiful world with your gauntlet runner,
You know,
uncovering
that is
breathtaking
thrilling.
landscapes, dungeons and towns, along the way forging deep bonds with your party members and unlocking their true potential. And don't forget to master time management as you balance exploration, combat and social interactions to achieve your goals. Metaphor ReFantazio is a feast for all the senses. So what are you waiting for? Get Metaphor ReFantazio now or download the free demo and prepare to be enchanted by this incredible new JRPG experience.
I might
See
try
you
this
in the
game.
United
I'm going to play it
Kingdom
like
of
one
Ucronia.
stream and then quit to the next one. Bard
Starting
showcase.
out with July's development livestream where we got a 2-hour showcase of the Bard. Starting out, we're in the Riverlands where we see a creepy clown-looking character and a floating spellbook. This is the Bard. It's explained that we're in a new area of the Riverlands called the Derrigal States, which we've never seen before. It looks nice, basically a farmstead style.
I mean, this
The
kind of
Derrigal
looks nice. Like, look at this. Like, it kind of looks very realistic. But I want...
States,
just
which we've never
plays
seen
bad.
before. It looks nice, basically a farmstead style area with wheat fields. I like the vibe.
The
Quick look
movement
at the
feels
skill tree.
stiff.
Here it's explained that they've redesigned
Skill
how
tree
skill
looks like
trees
World
will
of
work for
Warcraft
Alpha 2,
ripoff.
because the ones shown in the past were way too linear. Now it's a lot more open, more choice, more branches. I like this change. As a bard, you can obviously use different instruments. You can select this in your skill tree. You've got the flute, fiddle,
Man,
and
this
the
is the
drum.
best you can come
These
up
are
with in
only cosmetic
2024.
choices and don't
And it's
affect
in an alpha
gameplay
state,
outside of
dude.
changing the animations and spell effects of
Jesus.
your melodies. The Bard has 5 different melodies. These are long-channeled casts that can be used whilst moving and in conjunction with other skills.
Okay,
The
let's
first
continue
one
watching.
is Cheerful Melody, which provides light healing over time as well as increasing all healing
The
received
menu looks
by
like
your
a phone
party.
game.
Next
The
we have
sidebar.
Pensive Melody. This one provides mana regen over time for the party. Epic Melody gives a 20% move speed buff to the party. Cathartic Melody gives your party members' attacks a 25% chance to heal for 50% of their damage done, which should average out to 13% life leech if in combat. Finally, we have Menacing Melody, which increases damage taken by 10% for nearby enemies. It's then explained that in the skill tree, bards can choose
Looks
to
so
either ramp
corny.
up their melody's effectiveness over time, or weave 2 melodies at once. Next we've got Flourish. This will be a 2-charge movement ability that can be
Here's
used
the rainbow,
whilst casting other
motherfucker. Look at
abilities.
that.
I really like the freedom of movement they're going with for the bard. It looks really fluid, even allowing you to turn whilst in animation. Next up, the 4 dance abilities. Once again, these can all be used whilst moving and whilst casting your melodies. Shielding Dance both heals and puts a shield on nearby allies. Nimble Dance gives a 50% base evasion buff as well as 20% move speed. This stacks with Epic Melody for a potential 40% speed increase. Mesmerizing Dance is basically an AoE CC that incapacitates enemies for 10 seconds and stuns staggered enemies for 3
I
seconds.
have never learned how this range system works on an MMO. Instead of doing this, can you just give us a small outline of a circle to say how much the range is?
At this point,
That
it's
would be
also
easier.
explained that crowd control in Ashes will have diminishing returns, as highlighted by the immunity buff. If you're somewhat familiar with how WoW's crowd control diminishing returns works, then it's basically the same kind of thing in Ashes.
Yeah.
Each school of crowd control having its own diminishing returns, so to lock down an enemy for an extended period of time, you need to be using different types of crowd control. Finally, for the dance abilities, we have Maddening Dance. This deals AoE damage to enemies, applying something called Humiliated to targets that are demoralized.
Oh,
The
yeah.
TLDR is that there's 4
Okay.
dance abilities, one for speed, CC, shielding, and damage. Next up, Get Off the Stage, a short-range melee frontal knockback that can also stagger and disarm. Quick Wit is a dual function ability. If you use this on an ally, you'll heal them. If you use it on an enemy, you'll deal damage and demoralize them. Lovely Serenade, a single target channeled heal over time. Anthem of Alacrity speeds up the attack speed and casting speed of an ally for 10 seconds.
Looks decent.
Chilling Lament, a single target ticking ice damage ability that inflicts chill.
I mean, this
Dark
game is free to
Lullaby,
play, right?
a
Gonna
single
be?
target channeled
Probably it's
DPS
not gonna be
ability
free
that
to
can
play.
stun incapacitated targets
I
on a
hope it's
final
not
hit.
Region Lock. Like that
Discordance,
fucking
a
what's
DPS
that game?
ability that applies stagger
Throne
and
and Liberty.
bounces to
Piece of
nearby
shit was a
enemies.
Region Lock about me.
Gambit is an emergency heal for party members where you can instantly swap your health for theirs. And finally, we've got the story abilities. Not all of these were shown, but casting one of these abilities will give you a buff. Once you've stacked 3 of these buffs, you can cast a Saga ability, which is basically an ultimate ability for the Bard. Conflict increases
I mean, the
party physical
theme
power
sound
by
is
10% for
cool.
30 seconds. Chaos gives your party magical crit. With 3 buffs stacked, we're then showed the Saga ultimate ability, which has multiple variations depending on the combination of buffs stacked. In the example shown, we see the 3 tragedy buff Saga called the Apocalypse, which is a very cool big damage, large AoE cone ability. I really like the effect on this one. The final thing showcased is the Bard's basic weapon attack procs with the floating spellbook. These basic attacks are different depending on which melody is currently active, which I find a really nice touch of flavour. Next, we got about 40 minutes of group gameplay with the Bard in action, and I have
Okay,
to
let's
say,
see
I
it.
think this might be one of the best design classes Intrepid have made so far. What particularly impressed me is the synergy between different abilities and the sheer freedom of movement the class has. I wasn't planning on being a support class in Ashes, but after seeing how you can use all of the
What's
class
happening
has,
with the mob?
I
Look
wasn't
at that.
planning on being a support
That mob is running at like 2 FPS.
class in Ashes, but after seeing how you can use all of your abilities
What's going
whilst
on there?
moving, I'm not completely opposed to the idea. A brief art update to end the stream.
Okay.
And that was pretty much it for Ashes of Creation in July.
That's it?
Midway through August, we had another live stream, this time dedicated to the details regarding the Alpha 2 roadmap, as well as details
alright.
on Alpha 2 bundles. Initially, the sale of these Alpha 2
Here's the funny name. Bloodborne is gonna come out to PC. That this game is gonna
keys
come out.
actually caused quite a bit of backlash
You can
from the
play Bloodborne
community,
before
as
this.
purchasing a key for Alpha 2 initially didn't give you access to the later beta testing phases. Thankfully,
Yeah.
Intrepid listened to the community, and now buying access to Alpha 2 does also give you access to beta, along with a month of sub fee when the game's released and $15 of Embers.
Yeah, that's what you get. Take the L, you fucking greedy fucks.
The main thing that was really hammered home by Steven during this stream was to not buy access for Alpha 2 expecting a quality, playable product. In fact, the way he was talking about Phase 1 specifically sounds like it's going to be a bit of a mess and borderline unplayable. But as Alpha 2 goes on into Phase 2 and Phase 3, the game will have less wipes, have more content, and by Phase 3 in May 2025, it sounds like it'll be in a much more
People
playable,
actually buy into
consistent
this?
state.
Jesus.
The real meat and potatoes of this stream, however, was a breakdown of everything each testing phase will contain. Phase 1 seems fairly small with a 55 square kilometer world size, 5 nodes up to level 3, 3 races, 6 class archetypes, 9 weapons, and various systems and content of which there's too much for me to read individually, so feel free to pause here and look at the graphic on screen. Phase 2 then individually, so feel free to pause here and look at the graphic on screen.
460 piece unique gear. How many bosses? 3 world bosses. We only got 3. Lame. Unique for enemy creatures. Who gives a fuck? There is only 3 bosses. What about the dungeon? It doesn't show any dungeon.
Phase 2 then increases the world size, more nodes, more races, more weapons, systems, and content. And finally, Phase 3, which will run for a very long time and introduce the rest of the content to the game over time. Phase 3 will have 24/7 uptime, and I'd personally expect this to run for at least a year until beta. I know, this game's still a long time from a full release, so don't abandon your current MMOs just yet.
Yeah, it's gonna take at least 5 years for them to make it a fucking beta at this rate. Like, we are in 2024. This game already looks outdated as shit. And then you want me to wait for 2030? People are gonna wait for that?
Additionally, Realms
2030 VR MMO is gonna pop off, dude.
for Alpha 2 will be initially capped at
Maybe.
3k players per realm, eventually increasing to
Copium,
the
but
8
still.
to 10k range as Alpha 2 progresses.
You gotta compete with Genshin Impact,
The August
Withering
development
Waves, and other
livestream was
bullshit
definitely
games
an
that's coming
epic
out.
one, as it showed off a 40-man open-world dragon raid boss, the Firebrand. The stream starts out at a point of interest in the Riverlands called the Citadel
There
of
we go.
Steel Bloom. The team are in a full 8-player party. Yes, party size in Ashes is up to 8 players, which is quite a bit different to the standard 5 players that most MMOs go with. They basically make their way through this POI, doing a quest where they have to fight
In
off
World
multiple
of
waves of
Warcraft, how many people you can have a party? Minimum 25 and the maximum is 40, I
enemies,
think.
ending in a mini-boss.
You can do a 40-man raid in that game, dude. And that game came like 20 years ago.
Deeper inside and eventually have to stop a ritual to claim a relic in the form of a dragon egg. The party leave the POI and we see this epic shot of a giant dragon swoop down, presumably to reclaim the egg. This dragon is a level 25 boss, so I'd assume that there will be a higher level variation of this, with potentially more mechanics and higher difficulty towards the end game.
He's not moving
The team
though,
then
he's just
converts
standing
the
there.
party to a full 40-man
There we
raid,
go, that's what
and
I
the
want to
battle
see.
with the dragon begins. The cool thing about this showcase is that throughout the fight we get multiple POVs from different archetypes, so it's actually worth watching the video in full, but here's a brief breakdown of the dragon's mechanics. You've obviously got the basic attacks in the form of frontal cone claw swipes as well as the typical tail swipe. The dragon lifts its front legs up, stomping the ground, dealing raid-wide AoE damage. The dragon lifts its front legs up, unleashing fire, which also causes raid-wide AoE damage and burn damage, which healers can cleanse. The dragon jumps back, ascending into the sky, then flies forward, breathing fire down upon anyone in its path. The dragon lets out a roar and 3 flame circles start to appear around him. Each ring of the circle explodes one after the other, so players will need to move back out of one circle then move back in after it's exploded. The dragon jumps back and does a fire breath attack that focuses the largest group of players in proximity to each other, dealing massive damage to those standing in front. The dragon drops a living bomb on players which deals big damage, and after a few seconds spawns big AoE fire circles underneath them. At low health, the dragon flies up in the air and spawns flame elemental adds that, if not killed quickly, he'll absorb and gain a stacking damage buff relative to the number of enemies absorbed. And finally, the dragon flies up in the air and smashes down to the ground, dealing massive AoE damage wherever it lands. Eventually, the team kill the dragon, and the loot consists of a mix of blue gear and epic crafting materials. Overall, by alpha standards, I thought this boss fight was really cool, and there's a decent amount of mechanics for an open world 40-man. I do, however, think it'd be cool if the dragon spoke to the players, Dragon's Dogma 2 style, or at the very least mentioned that he's angry because one of his eggs was stolen. But that wraps up Ashes of Creation in August. September's dev livestream was a guide to Alpha 2, as well as a preview of the Alpha 2 starting area known as Lionhold. I'll start by playing the
Yeah, that's fine and all, but you have to compete with this though. Give me a second. Guild Wars 2 Dragon Fight. Where is it? 90-man raid?
We have got an headside carry us to victory. Right, I want clips on the Gilsu sub.
It's not a good. Like, if there is one fight, the dragon fight in Guild Wars is amazing. Like, look at this thing.
The armor.
And then this game is action combat. How the hell are you gonna compete with this?
Looks. We have a sky scale.
You know, Guild Wars is pretty good. If you want an MMO, I would recommend
Short
Guild Wars.
guide to Alpha 2 video, as it was quite a nice
But it's very
watch.
casual though.
Hello,
It's not
adventurer.
Swordfest.
Welcome to Ashes of Creation Alpha 2, where the world of Vera is yours to explore and shape. Ashes of Creation Alpha 2 is an important early testing phase, which will be continually updating. As a participant, your journey will help shape the game's future through providing feedback and hunting down bugs to help us refine the world of Vera. When you first step through the portal, you'll begin your journey across various regions. One of these is the city of Lionhold, a Kalar military outpost. It's the launch point for their efforts to reclaim
But
their
this is the same
ancestral
thing
home.
he
Here,
showed before.
you'll meet the locals
Okay.
and embark on countless quests and adventures. As you continue your journey through Vera, you'll discover the Citadel of the Steel Bloom, once the proud headquarters of the
I don't
Order
know,
of the
for
Steel
me,
Bloom.
it looks
Now
so
it's
lifeless.
abandoned and overrun by mercenary bands.
I gotta see it. Like, I gotta play it inside the game to figure this out.
Treasures, dangers,
From first glance, it
and
kind of looks
untold
lifeless.
stories await. You may be wondering, how will I travel to all of these places? Don't worry, adventurer. There are so many ways to explore Vera, including a variety of mounts to carry you across vast landscapes, through the dense forest, and over rugged mountains to reach your destinations.
Now, this actually looks very good. Man, you gotta have a good story. If this world, if you have a good story like Witcher 3 or freaking Lords of the Ring or freaking Game of Thrones, this game is gonna pop off. But the story, if you fuck it up with the story, this game is gonna die.
Nodes are made.
Nobody is gonna look at this and then without any story background lore behind it, they're gonna get interested.
nations.
Do not fuck it up the story, please.
Nodes are a major part of our journey, offering you choices that will shape the world. Will you join the node of Winstead or ally with the city of Miralith? Each decision shapes the world, and the node you choose will grow, thrive, and evolve based on your contributions. What are those contributions, you ask? You can help expand your node by trading, crafting, and helping it grow into a prosperous city. You can fight creatures, complete quests, participate in events, commissions, and mayoral commissions, node wars, and of course, gathering. Throughout your journey, you'll find valuable resources in the wild, from ores to herbs to lumber. Each resource plays a vital role in the development of both your node and your character. Caravans are another way to aid your node. Transporting vital goods is essential for your new home's development.
Yeah, this is the Guild stuff. That
Be
is kind
wary.
of cool.
Other players may seek to claim your cargo for themselves.
Damn, really? That's kind of ace. I don't like this. Like the open world PvP, it sounds cool as
Caravans
a
aren't the only
concept,
place where you'll face off against
but if you're in the dying end over there,
other
it's gonna be
players.
miserable.
Don your equipment and prepare for node wars, where skill, strategy, powerful gear, and teamwork will determine victory or defeat. Travel to Oakenbane Keep to challenge the formidable beasts lurking within. Not all threats are ordinary. Deep in the wild, Tumok, the one-eyed Cyclops, awaits. Beware,
that guy looks
he
pretty
doesn't take
cool.
kindly to intruders.
Yeah, they gotta
The
work on
world of
this.
Vera is alive and ever-changing, shaped by your choices. So prepare yourself, adventurer.
You can actually jump?
Alpha 2
Okay.
is just the beginning.
But when the dragon did the AoE,
journey
none of them
awaits.
jumped.
Will you rise to the challenge?
That was quite a hype video, wasn't it? Next, we were given a full look at the Alpha 2 Phase 1 map, as well as the POIs and quests that will be available.
That
As you can
map
see,
is
we've
pretty
got 5
decent.
node locations, 1 dungeon. The areas to the northwest and southeast are lawless zones, where PvP will be auto-enabled. The only time lawless zones have been mentioned in the past were on the open seas, and these lawless zones are basically a way to test the open seas PvP feature before naval content becomes available later on. Once the open seas content is implemented, lawless zones are not intended to be utilised. For now, it's basically just for testing. These lawless zones will also eventually have their boundaries pushed back and become settled once we move into Alpha 2 Phase 2 and Phase 3. Next, we get an overview of the class archetypes that will be available in Phase 1 as well as their abilities. It's actually looking like these classes are starting to come together quite nicely now and are in a good enough state for feedback and potential changes if needed. A quick overview of the Phase 1 weapons that will have their skill trees implemented: the mace, shortbow, longbow, one-handed sword, two-handed sword, wand and book. Next, we get a 35-minute tour of the Lionhold starting area. Some of the NPCs actually have voiceovers, which, if I recall, wasn't something Intrepid was planning on doing initially, but thanks to
What the
AI,
fuck?
it's now a
You're
lot
gonna
easier.
have a question without the voice ending?
But basically, they just wander around this epic-looking starting area, do some questing, spend 10 minutes on a jumping puzzle, talk about the first-time user interface
That kinda
tutorial,
looks janky.
commissions, talk to a bunch of NPCs, and talk about Alpha 2. Not really a whole lot for me to break down other than just showing off the visuals. A quick art update.
I think what they should do
And that's everything for Ashes of Creation in September,
for
as
the
well as
jumping
this
puzzles,
quarterly recap.
instead
Going
of being
forward, the way I cover
the distance between have to be precise, they should make it you should jump in a certain
Ashes
timing.
of
Like
Creation
platforms
progress
will
will likely
probably work
change
on
a
it,
bit, as
know.
I'll be able to show you the Alpha 2 updates
Like
as
up
they're
and down or
implemented in game
something.
firsthand. I've been doing these quarterly updates for over 2 years at this point, and I do hope they've been somewhat useful to those of you that
2 years and you're still stuck at alpha? Get the hell out of
want to
here.
follow
This
the
game is
project,
never gonna come
but
out.
CBA with sitting through hours of live stream content. I'm actually expecting the initial reaction to Alpha 2 Phase 1 to be quite mixed, considering expectations are rather high, but I reckon
Yeah.
over time, as improvements are made, so will sentiment, even though it's still looking like a solid 3+ years until the full release. God help us. If you found this video helpful, entertaining, or maybe it helped you fall asleep, then chuck a like on the video for the algorithm, and I'll see you soon with my
Yeah, I'm
first
gonna link the
impressions
video.
of Alpha
Check
2
out the
Phase
video
1.
and then give him a
Thanks
like
for
and
watching
subscribe
Social
if you
Media
like
on
this
Screen,
awesome.
and I'll see you in the next one.
Like this game, I think it's just gonna be a problem. Like straight up. It's gonna look so outdated when it's gonna come out, and then people, I'm not sure if it's gonna like that or not. I still hate Dark Souls too.